Hello and welcome to another episode of the Admonition Cache. As always, I'm your host Ian. Before we get started today, I just wanted to thank all the listeners. As you're probably aware, I haven't been able to make a video like this in a while, and it's because of your kind words of encouragement on all the different platforms that I've been able to come back and start doing these again. It's 100% thanks to you, so thank you very much. I really appreciate you. The day the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, was banned off of Twitter, I myself was banned. I think that's the day that people really realized how deep the technocratic swamp really is. Before that, a lot of people, probably most people, knew that they were censoring certain ideas. By they, I mean Google, Twitter, Facebook, and using their algorithms to benefit certain ways of thinking while hindering others. At its basic principle, that's what they're doing. And we always knew that, or at least a lot of us did, it had a real effect. But I don't think anyone realized how deep the swamp really was. Because no one expected the President of the United States to be banned off of Twitter. During these lockdowns, now more than ever, these social medias have become the public squares. Now, they already were, but the fact that a lot of people are now locked inside their homes, they need the social media now more than ever. If we continue to use platforms that sell our information, that spy on us, and that censor our ideas, ways of thinking, and communications, then it's only going to get worse. This is why it's important now more than ever for people to find things, like Parler is a great example, and join them, and if you can, even support them financially. Now, I'm not paid by Parler. I've never even talked to anybody at Parler, and I'm using them as an example, but free groups where we can now share ideas without being censored. We can now, a place for all people, not, people that don't want to be in an echo chamber, they can go there. People that want to have their ideas heard and, maybe their ideas aren't mainstream, well, then that's the place for them 100% because we don't have the platform set up to deal with this. We need to build them. So that's why it's important that you fund things like that. Platforms are a big thing to fund right now. You can do a lot of good by funding this. And that's an example of the power that we all have when we get together. You can look at, for instance, what happened at GameStop, the recent stock purchases, the billions, $70 billion hedge fund bankers lost. And now that Joe Biden is in office, it's important we keep tabs on the legislature and the many executive orders. I'm not going to go through all of them. Actually, I'm only going to go through a few of them that he signed in the first day. In Joe Biden's first day, he signed an executive order requiring masks to be worn on federal grounds at all times. Now, obviously, this means, for instance, the Lincoln Memorial. We'll get to that in a second. But this also includes actually highways. This is because those are considered to be federal grounds. So, if you wanted to be following this executive order, you would be required to wear your mask in your car, regardless of if anybody else is in your vehicle with you, particularly when communities make widespread use of such measures and thus save lives. Accordingly, to protect the federal workforce and individuals interacting with the federal workforce and to ensure the community of government services and activities on duty or on site, federal employees, on site federal contractors, and other individuals in federal buildings and on federal lands should all wear masks, maintain physical distancing, and adhere to other public health measures as provided by the CDC guidelines. Wow, so actually I didn't even think about that. So not only do you have to wear your mask in your car, but I guess you can't have anybody sitting in the passenger seat as you drive because that's not following physical distancing. Funny enough, after signing this executive order, Joe Biden went to the Lincoln Memorial with his whole family and didn't wear masks. When asked about it, Biden's press secretary had this to say.
Why weren't President Biden and all members of the Biden family masked at all times on federal lands last night if he signed an executive order that mandates masks on federal lands at all times?
At the inaugural
At the Lincoln Memorial, yes.
I think, Steve, he was celebrating an evening of a historic day in our country, and certainly he signed the mask mandate because it's a way to send a message to the American public about the importance of wearing masks, how it can save tens of thousands of lives. We take a number of COVID precautions, as you know, here in terms of testing, social distancing, mask wearing ourselves, as we do every single day. But I don't know that I have more for you on it than that.
But as Joe Biden often talks about, it is not just important the example of power, but the power of our example. Was that a good example for people who are watching who might not pay attention normally?
Well, Steve, I think the power of his example is also the message he sends by signing 25 executive orders, including almost half of them related to COVID. The requirements that we're all under every single day here to ensure we're sending that message to the public. Yesterday was a historic moment in our history. He was inaugurated as President of the United States. He was surrounded by his family. We take a number of precautions, but I think we have bigger issues to worry about at this moment in time.
She happily commented on Joe Biden's possible consideration of altering the colors of Air Force One, because that is apparently much more important than Joe Biden not wearing a mask, violating his own executive order. Now I want to talk about another executive order Joe Biden has signed called Executive Order on Preventing and Combating Discrimination on the Basis of Gender, Identity, or Sexual Orientation. Every person should be treated with respect and dignity, and should be able to live without fear, no matter who they are or whom they love. Children should be able to learn without worrying about whether they will be denied access to the restroom, the locker room, or school sports. What that means is that they're going to be able to have transgender students, so biological males that have now decided that they're female, are going to be able to not only participate in the sports themselves without being required to take any kind of hormones, they also are going to be in the showers, in the locker rooms, and they're not required to have any kind of surgeries or anything like that at all. So they've just allowed transgender students, at whatever age they become transgender, to not only participate in sports with the opposite biological sex. What this means is that biological males are now going to be competing in female sports, and biological females are going to be competing in male sports, as well as being in the locker rooms and the showers. They're not required to take any kind of sex-altering surgeries or drugs. No female hormones, nothing like that, or male hormones in the other case. As far as civil rights goes for males and females, this is sending us back hundreds of years. It's so unfathomably bad for everyone on every scale. I have no idea why Joe Biden would pass this law, and I think that it's just a shame for our whole country. And some people really are down about America at its current state. I think it's important that we all realize the power we have as American citizens. This is the home of the brave. And every time you think about hiding your red hat for fear of retribution, I want you to remember the Americans that died in battles of tyranny over man. I want you to think about the American Revolutionary soldiers, men of great faith, who fought the world's strongest superpower without shoes in frozen ground. I want you to think about the men of D-Day and the sacrifices they made to stop the very same evil that plagues us today. So instead of hiding, instead of going into the shadows for fear of what might happen at you at work, what your neighbors might think, you need to go out there and show the world that there are more of us than people know, and that there are more of us than we know, because we've been so censored that we don't even have a voice anymore. So it's up to the individual now to show the support for America. So don't back down. Don't hide your hat. Be brave. Be brave just like the brave men and women who died. And I don't mean be violent, but what I do mean is that realize that the opportunities they gave us, the tools they put into our hands, are so powerful, the constitutional rights, that if we only followed it, we would be free. Thank you for listening. This has been the Admonition Cache.